And now we're up to, this is the ACC. Let's hit the Zoom button here. So Miami is the number one seed here. This is a weirdo
What a year it's been in
conference.
the ACC, man. What a year. Clemson, Pitt, and ended up as
Yeah.
high as they have. Like, experience wins games in college basketball, but that's not necessarily going to help a lot of scouts looking for future talent for the NBA.
So from 24 seconds here in the YouTube chat, he wanted to know about Matthew Cleveland. Matthew Cleveland will play Tuesday in the first round because Florida State had a absolute disaster of a season, especially early on. Matthew Cleveland is probably the guy that's most interesting among that first group of teams there on Tuesday, right?
Yeah, looking up that board, that's probably the case, at least for this year. You know my long-term love for Baba Miller. He's definitely not ready to be a draftable prospect this year. But Cleveland started the year really hot as a three-point shooter. It was a swing skill for him after a somewhat disappointing season a year ago. Started out really hot, but he has cooled off significantly. So I think that there's a lot of variance for how he finishes the season here, of leaving just a positive taste in everybody's mouth about the development of his jump shot.
I will say, Matthew Cleveland took no more than like 3 or 4 3-pointers in any game this year outside of a Clemson game where he took 9. And I will have to go back and watch that Clemson game to understand what happened there, because he does tend to be a very reluctant shooter. I just don't really like the mechanics all that much. I think it's like kind of a weird push shot where it comes from like a bit of an angled elbow out. And I think that he's going to have to do some real substantial work. He also generally does not make his free throws at a super high level, 62.5% over the course of his career at Florida State in 2 seasons so far. This is a guy that, certainly I do have him on my top 100, but not a player that I would suggest should leave this year either. Looking here, even in the second round, it just kind of goes to showcase this is not necessarily like a loaded year in the ACC prospect wise.
No.
So Syracuse, we do get the Judah Mintz show against Wake Forest. Judah Mintz is a player that very well could leave, and I think could be a second round pick in the 2023 NBA draft. Wake Forest, I just tweeted out clips of Bobby Klintman, the Swedish 6'10", wing forward, I guess you would call him. Just kind of fits a lot of different things that NBA teams look for. Honestly, if a team wanted to stash him this year, I wouldn't mind it, or at least promise him and then give him a real deal. I wouldn't mind it, but I would say that he is a 2024 potential first round pick, more so than the 2023 pick. I don't really love any of Pitt's prospects. I mean, North Carolina's prospects have all just kind of disappointed this year. I mean, are you at the point where Leaky Black is your favorite prospect at North Carolina?
I don't know. I don't like any of them right now. It's expectations were high and they haven't held up to them right now. Like, Caleb Love's had a rough year. I've never been a huge fan of Armando Bacot's translation to the NBA game. I'd hoped we'd seen more from Pete Nance this year than we really have. Like, maybe it is leaky. There's a lot going on in Chapel Hill. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. I mean, long term, I think it's Jalen Washington, but
sure.
At the very least, for this year, I think that's real. And then, at the 6th seed there, you get NC State. Terquavion Smith is very much disappointed this year. And I think that you can make a real case that, frankly, he has been outplayed by his backcourt mate in Jarkel Joyner throughout the course of this season. And I like Jarkel Joyner. He's a fun 6'1" scorer, but he's not like an NBA prospect. And Terquavion Smith had a 48.8 true shooting percentage this year. Like, I don't even think Terquavion should really leave, if I'm being completely honest. So, I mean, where do you fall on the Terquavion Smith of it all here?
Yeah, I mean, I always have liked the talent. I love betting on kids who are good guys, hard workers, and want to compete. And those are 3 boxes that I think Terquavion checks. But there's also like scoring guards at his size are kind of a dime a dozen. And if he's not going to be hyper efficient on high volume or have one standout skill other than putting the ball in the bucket, like, how high do you really take him? Like, as I've put together a lot of mock drafts recently, and trying to go through these exercises, there are so many times when I am looking there from like 22 to 34, 35. Okay, this team's on the clock. What would Terquavion look like there? And there's another player who fits better, who's a better fit for that roster, who has higher upside long term. Like I just keep pushing him back and back and back, not as much due to his play, but due to his fit in the NBA. And I think that's going to be a challenge for him to overcome. Super fun player. Like NC State is an enjoyable watch. I hope somebody tunes in to watch him for the first time and just says, man, those guards can go. Like they are really fun to watch. Kevin Keats has done a good job there this year. Don't want to disparage that by any means, but it has been a little bit of a disappointing turn for Terquavion, who seems to have a lot of top 20 interest a year ago in a pretty good draft class and hasn't been able to recapture that heading into this 23 cycle.
Yeah, I just I'll be honest with you. I have Terquavion like into the 40s on my board right now. Like he's a 6'4", 170-pound scoring guard who shot 33% from the field and always has had struggles at the rim and always has had struggles defensively. So I appreciate the talent and I appreciate the ability to create pull-up threes. On some level, you're judged on what your impact is, though. And unfortunately, his impact has not been good enough. Just looking through here, we're going to get some fun ones. Duke is obviously a really important team in this 2023 NBA draft. And any chance that scouts get to look at Dariq, Whitehead, Dereck Lively, Kyle Filipowski is going to be huge here moving forward. Kyle Filipowski had a phenomenal game against North Carolina.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in this Duke team making potentially a run under John Shire in his first year. I think that I don't know where the projections fall on this. I would be interested to see if Ken Pomeroy, that is, has projected out the ACC yet on his blog. I do not seem to be able to find whether or not Ken Pom has actually released the ACC odds, but I think that, oh no, here we go. Duke is the favorite in the ACC. They would be my favorite too. Not even like math wise.
Interesting. So, I mean, I think they're playing the best basketball of anyone in the league right now. I just think Miami is a tough matchup for them because they space the floor so well. They've got really good guard play. And with what you can do with Norchad Omier at the 5, it makes it harder for Dereck Lively to be the true rim protector that he is. That there's ways that Miami can punish what Duke wants to do, which is keep Lively around the basket as much as possible. So if Duke can get past that one and kind of solve the Miami puzzle, which has been a challenge for them in some regard, they're definitely the favorite.
I believe so as well. Having said that, it's good tape to see. It's really good tape on Duke. And I think that that's a fascinating one. I think that Pitt can cause them some issues. I don't really think Florida State or Georgia Tech would necessarily. Virginia, the Reece Beekman hive is real, and I'm not quite as high on him, but it is someone worth tracking as a defense first guard. Miami is the 1 seed here. Miami has Isaiah Wong, who is a guy that I am slowly but surely becoming more interested in as a combo guard who can really score. Very shifty, has some real twitch as a ball handler. There's a lot there to be excited about. Jordan Miller is a guy that's about 6'7", 6'8", 3-point shooter, has real, ability in the 15-foot in area to be able to create shots that way. Norchad Omier is 6'7" center, kind of an undersized, like defense first, physical kind of center that will be good for that Duke matchup, as Spins so eloquently put it. 3 guys that, top 100 players whenever they decide to come out, but not top, maybe that'll be this year. Maybe it won't. Right. I actually think Jordan Miller is auto eligible, right?
He should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Virginia was the top seed in the ACC for a long time this cycle, and they have fallen on some difficult times lately. Just haven't been able to figure out how to score the ball consistently offensively, but they're always a dangerous team with the way that they defend. You look at the top 4 seeds here, or particularly Miami, Duke, and Virginia, and you understand that those are clear tournament teams and kind of the best of the group. It's hard to look at whoever's going to be playing in the first and second round and see who has kind of the cohesion and the firepower to make a deep run right now. This seems like a spot to look for chalk for NBA draft teams. Like draft terms, you're going to be watching Duke pretty much the entire time. That's the one with the first round prospects to really track. You mentioned Judah Mintz at Syracuse. He has my heart. I'm going to be paying attention to him to see if he's a guy that ends up declaring. And if he does, he's probably top 35 to top 40. And then Terquavion Smith, can he recapture lightning in a bottle and help the Wolfpack not just make a run into March here, but reclaim some of the draft territory that he has lost this year?